All right, today we're going to talk about lesson 3-8, solving equations by clearing fractions, and we're also going to talk about decimals. So, when you clear fractions, what you need to do is you need to find the greatest common multiple. Wow, my pen's not working. The greatest common multiple to clear your fractions. I'm going to show you what that means in just a bit. Greatest common multiple. So for instance, if you had 3/4 t plus 2/3 t equals 12, okay? And you want to find the greatest common multiple of your denominator. Denominator. Okay? So if you look here are my denominators, 4 and 3. Well, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 all are multiples of 4. Multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, etc., etc. Well, what does 4 and 3 both go into? Well, the greatest common multiple is 12. So what I have to do is multiply by 12 on each side. And that's what we're going to be talking about today to solve a problem. So I'm not going to go any further on that. When clearing decimals, you multiply by 10 to some power. You determine that power on how big or how many spaces you have to move your decimal to the right. So for instance, 1.171x equals 3. Okay? To make this problem easier, I could move this decimal 1, 2, 3 units, so it says 1,171x, okay? But whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other side. Well, this is 3 places I had to move it, so I have to multiply this number by 10 to the third power. So I'd multiply this by 10 to the third power, which is actually 1,000. And I would have to multiply this by 1,000. Get my new equation, 1171x equals 3,000. And if you look here, you can divide by that and you can easily find x. So let's get into a problem. Example 1 says, in 2004, the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Browns had the highest earnings in the National Football League. The Redskins accounted for 1/12 of the league's income, and the Browns accounted for 1/15 of the league's income. Their combined income was $129 million. What was the total league income for 2004? Well, A says write an equation to describe the situation. Well, the Redskins had 1/12 of the total. So 1/12 of the total plus 1/15 is the Browns' total income equaled $129 million. Everybody see how I got that? 1/12 of the total plus 1/15 of the total equals $129 million. Now, here's what we want to do. We want to clear fractions. So we got to find multiples of 12 and 15. Multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72. Multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45, 60. We just found a common multiple. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply each side by 60. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. Okay? So if you look at this, 60 times 1/12. Well, 60 times 1/12, 60 times 1 is 60 divided by 12 is 5t. Plus 60 times 1 divided by 15, 60 times 1 is 60 divided by 15 is 4t. Has to equal, and 129 times 60, you could do this on your calculator, 7,740 million. Well, if you notice right here, I have like terms. 5t plus 4t is 9t equals 7,740. I'm running out of room. I'm just going to move it right up over here. So 9t equals 7,740. The inverse of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I told you you're going to get sick of me saying that. And divide that number by 9 on your calculator, and it tells you the league's total income is $860 million. Okay? Now, could you go back and check some of those things? Yes, you could put 860 in here, so 860 divided by 12 is 71.66 repeating, and 860 divided by 15 gives you 57.3 repeating. Okay, so yeah, 71 plus 57 or 58 is 129. So this all works out when you put it back into your equation. Let's look at example 2. We have an inequality here, but remember, the inequality, all you have to worry about, it's just like your equal sign. The only thing you have to worry about is if you multiply or divide by a negative number. So, looking at this problem, I need to get rid of my fractions. So, I have fractions here, 4 and 6. So I need a common multiple of 4 and 6. Well, 4, 8, 12, 6, and 12. So a common multiple of 4 and 6 are 12. So I'm going to multiply each side by 12. Remember, you have to do it to every single thing, not just one thing or the other. So when I multiply this by 12, 12 times x is 12x, divided by 4 is 3x. 12 times a negative 8 is a negative 96. My inequality stays the same. 12 times 1, 6. 12 times 1 is 12. Divided by 6 is 2. Now it looks like our two-step algebra problem. My x is on the left side, so everything on the left side but the x needs to get moved to the right. The inverse of subtracting 96 is adding 96. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 3x is greater than. 2 plus 96 is 98. 98. The inverse of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. And x is greater than. 3 goes into 98. Okay. 3 goes into 98. 32 and 2/3 times. Okay. Could you graph that out on an inequality? Yeah, sure. Or on a number line. Point of interest is 32, 23. Open or closed? It's open because there's not an equal sign. And this says I want everything that is going to the right because it is greater than. Okay? Always read from the variable. Important things to remember. To clear fractions in an equation or an inequality, choose a common multiple of all the denominators in the sentence. 2, multiply each side of the sentence by that number. That's what I have been showing you. To clear these fractions, what number could you use to multiply each side of? Well, our point of interest is 6 and 8 here. So multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, right? Hopefully we don't have to go out any further. 8 would be 8, 16, 24, found one. 24 is what we would have to multiply each side by. Clearing decimals. Like fractions, decimals can be cleared from an equation to give a simpler equation with integer coefficients. A decimal can be thought of as a fraction whose denominator is a power of 10. For example, 0.4 can be written as 4/10. So the denominator of 0.4 is 10. Similarly, the hidden denominators of 9.83 or 9 38/100ths and 6.022 or what is 6 22,000ths are 100 and 1,000 respectively. That's what I was talking about earlier. Some power of 10. This is 10 to the first power, this is 10 to the second power, this is 10 to the third power. Notice, 2 decimals, 10 to the second power. 3 decimals, 10 to the third power. Okay? It's not a coincidence. So if you look at example 3, it says solve 5.85n minus 9 equals 2.7. Well, we got to see what's the biggest power of 10 that has to happen in this equation. If you look at this one only needs to be moved once. However, this decimal needs to be moved twice. So our biggest power is going to be 2. Okay, so what's 10 to the second power? Well, 10 to the second power is 100. So I got to multiply both sides by 100. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Sorry, I'm running out of room here. Well, when I multiply this by 100, it just moves these 2 decimal points. So it becomes 585n. 100 times a negative 9 is a negative 900. See how it's making this problem easy? 2.7 times 100. Well, that means you got to move it 2 spaces. So one space gives me 27. The other space gives me 270. Now you have integers. It's a 2-step problem. Don't let this bother you. Here's my variable. I need to move the 900 over. So I add 900. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 585n is equal to 1,170. The inverse of multiplying is dividing. And we did all that work to get our answer to be 2. It's very easy to be able to move these over, clear your fractions, get integers that you feel comfortable with. There's nothing wrong with that. There is also nothing wrong with go ahead and doing your math. You would get out the same answer, whether if you're using decimals or not using decimals. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy. We have a test coming up. Make sure you're ready.